Before you try another AI tool, listen to this podcast because there is so much tech and so little introspection. I use AI as much as the next lazy guy. It's fine. It helps. Sometimes it's miraculous. But now that I've said that, let me also offer the opposite perspective. AI is dumb. It's kind of samey. It often needs so much damn babysitting and revision that I would have been better off just doing the task by hand. And yet artists are bombarded with new promises, new tools, new opportunities. It's overwhelming at best, and at worst, it distracts us and even degrades the quality of our work. So when we're thinking about any particular AI tool, how do we know where that line is between beneficial and detrimental? Well, I made a decision tree and came up with a bunch of questions you can ask yourself to help you determine whether you should use a specific AI tool for a specific task in your music career. This is AI? Sure, but should I? Let's get into it. What's up and welcome to Scratch Track. My name is Chris Robley and Scratch Track is brought to you this week and every week by Demo, the place to be if you are an overwhelmed, busy adult musician who's juggling a lot in your life. You might have kids, aging parents, a career, two careers. Basically, you're a person for whom music is a vital part of your life, but it can't be the only part of your life the same way it might be for some independently wealthy 18-year-old. You have precious few minutes every day to do things like promote your music and move your career forward. And you need to be able to do it in a realistic way that fits your life, that brings you measurable growth towards your goals, but you do it in a way where you don't have to chase trends, switch apps every 6 months, go broke, or burn out. If that sounds like you and you want help coming up with a process that fits your actual life, as I just said, I'm now offering a series of one-on-one coaching, and it's 3 sessions. In the first one, it's really about clarifying your goals, figuring out where your talents lie, what your challenges are, what you should be focusing on, and what you should ignore. In the second session, it's really about building a roadmap, taking that clarity of purpose and translating it into concrete steps that you will actually take. In the third session, it's about establishing momentum. So we look at what you've tried so far, what's worked, amplify wins, maybe what you could do better, so that this process is set up for you to work long-term, long after these sessions have concluded. If that interests you, go to musicdemo.org/contact. I'll also put the link in the show notes. All right, AI. Musicians, music industry pundits, tech bros, social creators, marketing gurus, we're all obsessed with AI. Why? Well, beyond the obvious that there are new apps and new promises every day, I think it's really that because there's a seed of fear that gets planted inside every one of those promises. And that seed of fear is saying, if I don't use AI, I'll get left behind. If I don't use this particular new tool, I'll get left behind. If I don't stay up on all the new tech and all the new trends, I will get left behind. But left behind from what? A future where music creation is both literally and figuratively out of our hands? I mean, I don't know about you, but I like playing guitar with my hands. I like coming up with music and composition ideas with my own brain. I like writing lyrics from my heart, from my sensibilities. Or are we going to get left behind from a future where we just tumble through endless feeds of slop while growing further and further from what I call in one of my own songs, the practical heat of an actual friend, by which I mean like community, humans, humans are fun, or they can be. Maybe we're afraid of getting left behind from a future where our worlds, both real and unreal, internal worlds, interpersonal worlds, they kind of turn to wastelands, not because they're cold and empty, but because they're cold and full. They're absolutely crowded with inhumanity. Are we really afraid of being left behind from that future? If that's the future, I don't give a damn. Leave me behind. I'm fine. All right, I can hear some very smart techie friends of mine saying, oh, don't be such a Luddite, Chris. Well, why shouldn't I be? As I said, I use AI pretty much all the time, and I already feel dumber for it. That's only been a couple of years. AI tools, so far, helpful as they can be, have made it harder for me to make decisions when it comes to my writing, my editing, strategic planning. It's really kind of become a crutch. It's making it harder for me to make decisions on my own. And progress is not much more than just a series of good and bad decisions, right? So yeah, we can cue the usual stories about, the ancient travelers who navigated by the stars or the moss on tree bark or whatever, and say, well, we don't need to do that. We have GPS. Okay, fine. But when it comes to just something as simple as making decisions about my own writing, I don't want to be lost in the woods like that, because I have lived through 1,000 broken utopian tech promises, and I promise you we are not more joyful for the journey. Email was supposed to connect us more deeply. We were all going to be better sons and daughters and mothers and fathers and aunts and friends because of email. The internet was supposed to be an accelerant for small business. How's that going? MySpace would be a better way to make friends. Here's one of my personal favorites. Digital distribution was going to democratize the music industry. YouTube would reward authenticity. The iPhone was going to make us all more fulfilled creators. Amateur journalism was going to amplify the truth. And that new digital commons was going to be really healthy for politics. Dev sprints would yield more sensible products that needed less customer support. The Arab Spring was supposed to bring flourishing. TikTok was an opportunity, not a trap. Decentralized ledgers were supposed to mean more responsible money. Our followers would actually follow us and be reachable. And free shipping would be free. To be quite honest, if I could push a button and erase the internet and all possible pathways back to it, I would honestly be tempted. So forgive my lack of optimism when it comes to promises that AI will make things more meaningful for musicians. Notice I didn't say easier, funner, funnier, quicker, cheaper, more profitable. AI might do all of that and more. But get off my lawn. I've lived long enough now to know that happiness comes from something else. Meaning, not speed, not savings, not efficiency, and not even temporary enjoyment. Meaning takes time. It takes work, sacrifice, and resilience. It takes disappointment and striving and triumph. Or, as Charlie Wartzel says in a recent article in The Atlantic, the loss of friction deprives people of something crucial. What happens between imagination and creation is ineffable. It entails struggle, iteration, joy, and frustration, disappointment, and pride. It is the process through which we enact agency. It is how we make meaning and move through the world. To lose that, I fear, is to capitulate on our very humanity. So here's my question. Why are we in such a fucking hurry to outsource our hearts and souls? Well, for the same reasons we fell for all those other promises. Email is convenient. The internet has been good for some small businesses. Personally, I used MySpace to book something like 7 tours. Spotify has helped my music reach hundreds of thousands of people who would never have heard it otherwise. Bitcoin prices went up. TikTok is pretty entertaining, and Amazon boxes are really easy to recycle. It's not all dystopia all the time. And likewise, AI isn't all slop all the time. It's gonna have its uses for artists, totally. Where that line is, though, between beneficial and detrimental, it obviously differs for every different individual creator. And that's why I thought it'd be useful for musicians to have a flowchart or a series of questions to ask themselves to know exactly when they should be using a certain AI tool for a certain task and when they might be better off just going it alone or the old-fashioned way or the collaborative human way. Because I am sick of talk of progress and constant press releases becoming a source of stress for musicians. AI can make your office work easier as a creative business owner. It can offer a music production assist. It can offer a songwriting assist. It can be your editor. It can be an idea generator for marketing. It can be your mentor, your school, your designer, your videographer. It can help you code. It can help you analyze data. You could feed it every lyric you've ever written and have it tease out themes or threads or through lines in those lyrics. It can act as your publicist. It can do so much, right up to making all of the music for you. Yeah, we know that, right? It can spit out a fully formed track, so you can lie to yourself that you're growing as an artist. As I said, AI can do so much, but should it? That's a different question. And to find the answer that's going to be right for you, I want to walk you through a bunch of considerations. First, there is a difference when it comes to ideas between generation and realization. Every different individual creator is going to have a different threshold for defining what is theirs in the output versus what really should belong to the machine. Is it cheating if AI generates an idea that you finish? Is it cheating if AI finishes an idea that you started? What even constitutes starting and finishing in a world where you can have constant back and forth iterative conversations with AI? Now, for me personally in the songwriting realm, if I wrote the chords and the melody and the lyrics, but then had AI replace all the sounds, like if I recorded a scratch guitar track and a scratch vocal, and then I sang like a, instrumental melody or something like that. And I said, hey, replace the guitar with Bob Dylan's early 60s Columbia Studios guitar sound and replace the voice with something that's, super soulful and take that instrumental melody I sang, convert it to MIDI, and then take that MIDI and have it performed by unison pizzicato cellos. I personally would feel like that's not cheating. For me, that's my threshold. They were my ideas and something else helped me realize them. Like that is a sonic assist I could barely even dream about when I was a kid. And if you told me that one day I would have access to that, I would be so excited. And that reality is pretty much already here. Now, on the flip side of that, you could take many of the same ingredients, and I would feel like it was cheating if I said, hey, write me a song about a sad dog with Bob Dylan's guitar sound and unison pizzicato string arrangements. That would be, for me, going too far. And by doing that sort of thing where I absolve myself of a certain element of control, I'm also risking the next thing I want you to consider, which is the great homogenization of content. You know, an obvious risk of AI is that the way its training works and the sort of regurgitative nature of how it spits things out, we risk this sort of doom loop of blah. And I want you to ask yourself, are you willing to resist that homogeneous doom loop trend by being extra you, extra quirky, extra human? That can mean you're being extra you entirely on your own or with an AI assist. But whatever makes you unique should be a central element of all your work. And then here's a weird reality. Slop sucks. Yeah, of course it does. But sometimes it's fine. By which I mean, we can't be expected to be masters at every aspect of our music career. And as long as your music, the music quality, is the priority, other aspects of the music career like office work, email copy, writing press releases, even coming up with cover art for your singles if you're the type of person who's putting out a new song every month, even some marketing content, can get away with being less than A+ material all the time. I mean, of course, you should try to do everything, well enough, however you define that. But when it comes to the use of AI, sometimes like using it to get C+ quality work now is better than waiting for the imaginary A+. It's probably never going to come because if you actually leave it undone, you're never going to go and do the thing. So if it's for those types of tasks, yeah, sometimes slop is fine. Now, in addition to those considerations, I came up with a bunch of short questions to ask in an infographic I made. It's a decision tree, a flowchart you can go through. If you're interested in using it and seeing it with your own eyes, I'll put the link in the show notes, but I'm going to talk through a lot of the questions and the considerations here. So when you're wondering, hey, should I use, ABC tool for XYZ activity? I think a logical place to begin is, do I like doing this activity? Fulfillment and efficiency are two very different things. And if you are fulfilled by doing the activity already the way you've been doing it, what do you need AI for? And then the next question is, am I good at it? If so, maybe your existing process is adequate. Now, that doesn't mean AI couldn't help you get better at it. So the next question is, do I want to improve? Again, you don't need to be great at every aspect of your business, so maybe the answer is no, I don't want to improve. AI slop is actually super helpful. If you do want to improve, the next question is, will using such and such AI tool actually help me do that activity better? And that might not always be something you know up front without using the tool itself, but you can watch YouTube tutorials and read reviews and stuff like that. But let's assume using the tool will make your output better. I don't think that's an automatic yes, use the tool, because the next thing I want you to ask is, will using this tool stunt my growth in this activity? This is like teach a man to fish. If you constantly lean on some program that comes up with your drum beats for you, at first that might be awesome and exciting and productive, and now you've got drum beats you couldn't have done otherwise. But if by constantly leaning on that type of program, you don't develop your own habit or intuition about where the kick and snare should be on your own original music, you may be holding yourself back from coming up with the most awesome drum beats in the future. I'm not saying that's always going to be the case, but it is possible that by leaning on AI, you stunt your growth in the same way that I've been saying when I use ChatGPT. I notice that I'm kind of eroding my own confidence in decision making. So let's say you don't feel like you're going to be stunted. It is going to help you improve. Now, how are you going to use it? Again, we talked about, will you use it to begin? Is it a brainstorming tool? Is it going to get ideas flowing that you'll then go and complete? Is it going to finish the thing? If it does, will finishing the thing make the results more homogeneous or more unique? And I talked about babysitting earlier. If you leave AI to finish the work, it is often the case that you end up having to go back and change so much about it anyways, you would have been better off time-wise without the tool at all. But let's say it is helping you do good quality work. The next question is, am I in control? Now you can define that how you want. I'm sure, again, this is all manner of thresholds, is not a one-size-fits-all answer here. But whatever it's making should still feel like you in some way. It should be in line with your aesthetic or your goal, with your voice, with your sensibility. You want to be enough in the driver's seat that whatever comes out is maybe not recognizable, but recognizable as something that excites you. Now, let's say it does that. The next question is is the output mine? And I mean that in a kind of legal credit sort of way. Like, you should be able to claim credit with a straight face. And I think people who claim credit for songs that have been entirely generated by AI with just a prompt, if you are claiming credit with a straight face or that sort of thing, there's something wrong with you. Next question, and this is a big one. Would I rather work with humans? Now, humans are not always efficient. They're not always fast. They're not always conveniently available, but it is a lot of fun to make music with other people or to, partner up on a press release or whatever it might be. Community and fun collaboration can be the reward in itself. And so if that's you, don't be so quick to outsource that to a robot. Now, if speed and ease are more important, and sometimes they can be, like I have songs that I know I can realize entirely on my own. And if that's the case, then AI could be a big help. But I just need to be kind of intentional about that with every different project. All right, the next thing we got to think about, is my conscience clean using this tool? Some AI tools really exploit the work of other people, other creators. Some AI tools consume more energy than a small nation. Some AI platforms are literally building nuclear power plants to stay up with demand. So again, I'm not telling you how to feel about it. I just want to make sure you think that through. And if your conscience is clean, move on to the next question, which is, would I still feel proud of this if everyone in the world knew my process? If I was completely transparent that I had used AI in precisely these ways for precisely this aspect of the output, would I be embarrassed? Do you feel like you need to lie about or obscure how helpful AI was to you in your process? If so, don't use AI or get over it and just find a way to feel more comfortable with the truth. Next question I want you to think through is, if I use AI and it saves me a bunch of time, am I making good use of those time savings? Like, am I putting it into things that are more profitable, more fulfilling in my career? Am I being a better dad? Am I making intentional use of my leisure time? Am I going on more walks or watching more football games or whatever it is? And here's the thing about this question, whether you're making good use of that saved time doesn't really impact the answer. Like, maybe the answer is you use AI either way, but I just wanted to put it here as a bit of a hurdle to slow you down and make sure you're at least considering what you do with the benefits of this new tool. Now, we asked ourselves many times up till now, is slop good enough? If slop is good enough, great, use the tool. If slop is not good enough, no matter what task it's for, learn to use AI so well that what comes out is not slop. And lastly, I probably should have asked this one first, right? Can I afford the tool? I mean, if you can't afford it, then what are we talking about? Don't use it. But of course, a lot of AI tools are quite affordable, or they're free, or they're ad supported, or you're the product and they're selling all your data to their cousin Skynet, Sarah Connor. So I just read through the questions in that flowchart, and most of them had to do with the quality of the output or the criteria for your own fulfillment or the comfort of your soul or the value of your time. But let me remind you of one other important thing: money. So much of the conversation around AI, at least in the media, is about job displacement, cost savings, corporate profits, productivity, blah, 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 blah. Which of course for you, the musician who feels like you're going to fall behind and lose whatever foothold you have with audiences to newer, faster, younger, more technically minded creators, all that news coverage leads to more fear and anxiety. So remember this bit of good news: scarcity, urgency, connection, brand affinity. Those are all super important economic factors too. And those are all factors that are actually more in your control. Think about the guy who crafts farmhouse furniture by hand with some ancient tools in some idyllic New England town. It's precisely his inefficiency that commands the higher price tag. If he sold his designs to IKEA, the price of that chair would go way down. Now, he'd be okay. He'd be paid well by IKEA, but the value of the thing itself would be less valuable. And again, what people are paying for is everything that's attached to the story of his inefficiency, his personalized, non-scalable, non-modern process. The small batch ice cream truck that we always hear about in the woods somewhere with like a line of customers that's a mile long and they have to call months ahead to get a ticket, like it's like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory tour. Tell those people that they need an army of robots working for them to like scale up, and then watch their business tank. They know to leave well enough alone. What they're doing is working to drive demand and intrigue and human connection and an experience that isn't about immediacy. It's about patience and scarcity. The three humans who are right in front of you at a house concert singing the most beautiful 3-part harmony, which by the way, I think is the meaning of life. After the show, they sell out of their last vinyl run. Do you think those vinyl sales would scale up if instead of being there in person, they were actually like a hologram band that was beamed into 100 households at once? No, because it's the rare, intimate, personal performance that matters. It's the fact that for audiences, this is happening right here, right now, right in front of me, and it will never happen this way again. That's what makes fans want to go and commemorate the experience and buy the vinyl to take home with them. So all the buzzwords you can apply to this sort of stuff, like slow food movement and farm to table and artisanal, handmade, they're annoying, right? They're annoying buzzwords, but they get to something very true and very important. Imagine how valuable your human approach to music making can be in a world of infinite and instant slop. As I said before, your existing process may be adequate, maybe more than adequate. It might be ideal. And you can measure that based on profitability or output volume or just how much you're loving doing what you do. Because AI is fine, it can be helpful, it can be harmful, it can be a completely neutral waste of time. But if you value your humanity, your aesthetic, and your joy above everything else, then you can way more easily see when a particular AI tool will give you an actually valuable assist without you having to sacrifice what's most important. All right, I didn't mention specific tools here. This wasn't the point of this episode. It was really about just trying to rid you of some of the stress around this constant AI frenzy, and to remind you in a very self-help way, but also a sincere way, you might be enough as is. If you think it'd be helpful to have the flowchart, the decision tree, the infographic that I mentioned earlier, then you can get that. I'll put the link in the comments. I'll see you next time.